welcome back to my channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And I have made these two resin paintings of turtles. They're three-dimensional. You'll see at the end, I'll give you a much closer look and you'll be able to see. But during the process, you'll see that I used 6 layers of resin, and between a couple of the layers, there is where I painted and drew and then painted the turtles with acrylic ink. And then between other layers there are stones and seaweed and different tinted resins. I have finished the back, they're all nice and professional. So without further ado, let's go into my studio. Hey everybody, I've had lots of compliments on my turtles and people always say, when are you going to do another turtle? So what I'm going to do in this, what I've done is quickly sketched out 2 turtles that I want, and obviously, you know, the details aren't here. I have 2 picture frames. Each one will go in each picture frame. I'm going to hot glue gun around here and then paint it blue as I've done with this one. I'm going to put a resin base down, let that dry, and I might even put a second one down because these turtles are going to be underwater, so I want to create some depth and an illusion. So I'm going to, that's what I just sketched out this because I wanted to have an idea of what I'm going to do. So let me get on and hot glue gun. Now the back of this picture frame, I took off the stand from it, and these 2 things here have holes, so I need to put some hot glue in here to block those 2 little holes up. All right, that's that done. And now for the painting. For the purpose of this video, I'm only going to do a tutorial on one. I'm going to do both and I'll show you both of them. I'm just going to get like a mid-tone blue. The glue's all dry now. Oh. Ooh, you like that noise? All right, I'm going to paint that. So that's that painted. They're both painted, they're both hot glued. I'm going to wait for that paint to dry, and then I'm going to put my first layer of resin in the base. And these are picture frames that I picked up fairly cheaply, and I just took the glass out and, as I said, ripped the stand off the back. And the resin will probably be about 1/4 inch thick once it's all done. I'm going to paint the turtles with acrylic paint before I then put more layers of resin on, giving it the illusion that the turtle's swimming in the water. So at the first layer, I'm not too worried. Because I'm going to, you know, keep layering and keep adding and putting highlights and details, what I really need to do from the beginning is where I want my lightest and where I want my darkest. Well, I'm going to want my darkest in the middle because that's going to be in the distance. Obviously it's going to be light at the top because the sunlight's going to be coming through, and some light at the bottom of the ocean bed. But right now I am just going to lay this down. This is kind of the shape I want of the ocean bed. I'm going to put my light blue at the top. And I'm going to put my mid blue all around the middle. All right, I'm going to take my heat gun and blend them together. All right, so you get the basic principle of the first layer. It's not needing to be blended properly at this point. I mean, we can mix the two slightly. I want this blue to come down a little bit further. I want the ocean bed to be kind of this shape, like a half moon shape. So just blend those in. And then when this layer has dried, I will then apply the next layer, which will have more depth and more highlights. I'll bring some white resin into the picture. But for now, this is just perfect. I have some clear resin left, which I'm going to add. Just because when you add clear resin, it kind of helps everything mix together. Let's tilt that around. So I'm going to use my heat gun a little bit for that. So now this has given me my guideline of where I want my kind of color structure. Let's put it that way. So mix that clear in. Okay. Lovely and fluid. I'm planning out my next layer before I actually start painting the turtles on. So I've got these starfish that I'm going to just position in place just under put a little bit of clear resin underneath and some shells. And on this one, I think this is the smallest starfish I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, so all I'm going to do today is just put a band of darker blue in the middle, which will be the distance in the ocean, and some clear resin under the starfish and the shells to keep those in place. And then tomorrow when that's dry, I'll put a clear coat on, and on top of that clear coat, that's when I'm going to start painting the turtles. When mixing resin, I always think it's better to mix in a clear cup, because even though I time it for about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, if you're mixing in a clear cup, especially in small quantities like this, you can see when it's fully mixed. There are no white smudgy pieces. So now I'm going to just put a little bit of clear resin just in this corner so that I can stick down my starfish and my shells. And my starfish, daddy, mommy, and baby. Teeny tiny. God, I can't even pick it up. So cute. that one. I don't know if this one's in the picture. Oh my gosh, that starfish is the tiniest I've ever seen. Okay, I'm just going to put these in place, and then put the blue for the distant ocean, and then we'll come back and add the next clear layer before I start painting the turtles. So this layer has dried. I've mixed up some clear resin. I'm going to put a clear coat on this, but I do have a little bit of white acrylic paint in here that I'm going to mix a tiny bit of resin in, and when this has set up a bit, I'm going to just drag some white using the fan brush to create like sun rays coming through the top of the ocean. So first of all, I'm going to take these away and give them a sand, but I'm not going to do it where I'm going to resin because that is a nightmare. And then I'm going to add some more little embellishments. So I will be back once it's sanded. So the sanding is done and the resin has been sitting. So some bubbles are coming out of that. And the reason I sanded them, I don't know if you can see on this one, the surface was a little uneven, so by sanding you kind of guarantee a nicer coat on top of this, and it also provides a little bit of tooth. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of alcohol in both to make sure I've got rid of all the dust. And oh, wrong thing. See, there's dust here. Get rid of all the dust before I apply the next coat of resin. And on top of this next coat of resin, I will be painting the turtle and doing some highlights. I was looking at my news app on my phone and I came across this picture and I thought, this is perfect. This is exactly, so I'm going to use this as a reference for some details in the ocean top and details in the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so now it's the next day. This is dry, it's come out so well. I've done a quick sketch of the turtle here and on this one, but I'm going to do a time lapse on this bit because otherwise you'll be watching me forever paint this turtle. I've got my colours ready. I've got some white, hooker's green, burnt sienna, VanDyke Brown, Unbleached Titanium, Naples Yellow, and I can't remember what that green is. So there's my paints, and I've got some water on hand, and I have my reference photograph or printout here, which I'm going to use for colour and markings, and I'm going to use 2 really small paintbrushes. So without further ado, let me begin. Okay, my resin is mixed and my turtle is finished, and here's my other turtle. It's kind of cheeky looking one. And now I'm going to pour a layer of clear resin on here. When that's dry tomorrow, I'm going to put another layer of resin on top with more sunlight coming through and over the turtles. So I'm going to pop some bubbles on the top of that first. I'm in my really horrible messy studio. I'm going to do one last coat of resin on this. Before I do, I'm going to sand it down. And the other thing I want to do, I don't like this frame. I'm going to scuff up this frame and make it look kind of weathered. Edges first. Makes it look more kind of like, I don't know, beachy, ocean, boardwalk. I don't have to do a lot, just try the sandpaper, might be better. Can you rub that? Yeah, there we go. Stuff it up. And once this is done, I will make sure all the dust is completely off and it's dry. And then I'll add that last coat of resin with a big unveil. I mean, I'm in my horrible outdoor studio. I use my Dremel. I've got all my tools here. I could use my sander, but that's going to be too much. For something like this, it needs to be a little more delicate. This is where elbow grease comes in handy. All right, so I'm going to make sure this is dust free, and then we will put on the last coat. Don't be afraid to sand your resin. It looks like, oh my lord, this is never going to be the same again. It will be even better. Trust me. Okay, let's go put the last coat of resin on. Okay, now my two turtle paintings are, the frames are weathered, I've sanded this layer down, I have them both on my work surface and they are level. I have a few holes in this one where I attached the leaves because I kind of glued those down with resin. So I'm just going to fill those holes first and hope any bubbles rise to the surface. If not, I'm going to poke them with a toothpick. And there was one little hole in this one. There. Alright, so I'm going to cover this with resin. And I hope this wire's not in the way. I'm charging my phone. Let me move that. There we go. So very gently I'm going to spread this out because this is the last layer. These are so cute. And I know I've done, you know, they're a little different. They are layered to really create that sort of three-dimensional space under the water. But you could do the same just with the painting and covering it in resin. Resin seriously has a mind of its own. Anyway, I'm just going to cover this one for you. And then when they're dry tomorrow, we'll do the big unveil. And here we have the finished pieces. So if you look at them flat, I hope you can see this in the light properly, and then you tilt them. It's when you tilt them you can see how everything is layered, like the sunrise, the rays of sun in front of and behind the turtle. And then here's the other one. So now these are finished. You will be able to find those on my Etsy store. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Click the bell for reminders, and all the links to everything are below this video. Thanks for watching and see you in my next vid.